A fairly long presentation on healthcare, just every aspect that I think is of interest in healthcare. But then I want to quickly get into an hour to probably an hour and a half of small group discussions, and the exercise will be to create the ideal healthcare system.
The idea of preventing, and getting people to make behavioral changes, leave their abusive partners, take care of their health in regards to contraception, and then doing some real behavior changes in terms of preventing the onset of diabetes. Was all part of the background that I brought to Mass in Motion. But Mass in Motion is really a different way of thinking about preventing health. With the way we prevent health in the United States is that we start out with prevention. You know, we want to reduce obesity, we want to reduce high blood pressure, and then it goes into, okay, now we need to treat the high blood pressure. We need to treat the heart disease. And then finally, we need to repair what has been damaged by these conditions, these healthcare conditions. Well, Mass in Motion is sort of a new way of thinking about, out of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, is to go before that, to say if cities were more promotional of healthy behaviors and encourage people by just the nature of what a city looks like to get out and walk, because there are tree-lined streets, because there are bicycle pathways, we will improve because we will reduce the onset of chronic disease, of obesity, before it even begins. And so that's the idea of Mass in Motion. It is about changing city policy, systems, and environments. And it means working on two levels, working with the administration of the city, the mayor and all the department heads, but also working with community leaders and the community itself. And the grant has been funded both publicly and privately. So the health insurance companies throughout Massachusetts have realized the cost of healthcare is just skyrocketing. What are we going to do? Let's put money into what Dr. Valancourt, the head of the health department in the city of Fall River, calls primordial prevention. Let's get down early and improve resources for people. And make healthy choice the easy choice by making these changes. Government center, and this was an easy one because there are a 6-story building. The staircases are well lit. They're each floor is divided with at least 3 smaller components of the staircase, and it was a great partnership because with all of these things, and especially working with a grant, you know that your time is limited. So how do you create sustainability with these changes that you're making? So with the staircase, it was a collaboration with Arts United of Fall River to help maintain both engaging artists, getting the gallery, the pictures hung, and getting ready for an opening. And it's turned into, a community celebration, actually. We've had 4 different gallery openings. We've had art by our fire department. 2 firefighters do amazing fine art paintings, and those were hung. Also, we've had the youngest artists have been preschool children who did a unit on the masters, the art masters, and so we had a 3-year-old's perspective on Picasso and Monet and all the great artists, which was wonderful. But our focus is also on the art students at Durfee High School and at Diamond High School. And so every with every opening, there is new artwork displayed by those students. And another element was to get people to realize that there are stairs in this building. So an event to get the employees to participate in how to prompt stair use was another element. So this has been great. It has resulted. I did a survey prior to installing the art gallery, and the use of stairs among employees was quite low. I haven't redone that survey, but I see, anecdotally, I could report that there is definitely more stair use. And I also hear that people, say, you took down my favorite painting, or I found my son in one of the photographs on the staircase. So there's great interest and excitement in this, which is a great, lesson to learn. Early on also, when Massamotion was just getting started in Fall River, the trustees of reservations, you might be familiar with them, TTOR, was beginning to follow a path of urban park advocacy. Now, TTOR has beautiful, beautiful places throughout Massachusetts. It's a statewide organization. It's been running for about 100 years. But their focus in the very beginning was urban areas, and they had drifted very far away from that. So they wanted to return to that idea of their founder. And so again, looking at sustainability issues, Fall River Park Advocates was started. And Sandy Dennis has been the coordinator of that. And we have had we're about to have the third annual citywide park cleanup, working with the mayor's office and other departments in the city. We started a program called Adopt a Park, where residents or nonprofit organizations can take on for a year at a time the care, the quality of the park itself, and work with the police on safety issues in terms of, feeling safe while they're in the park. As a matter of fact, we're about to offer a self-defense made simple for members of the neighborhood associations and the park advocates. And we just had a meeting that we've been doing this now for a year, or two, I guess, and we had a meeting the other night with 30 people, so there's interest. People want to, this is a very, very important value to Fall River residents, is the care of the parks, which are for many people their backyards and their vacation destination. To get people out and to be more physically active. And in Fall River, with that idea that your park is your backyard, the parks are the places where people are walking around the perimeter. Children are playing sports or running or on their bicycles. So they are essential for physical activity. So that is that connection between changing environments and improving environments so that you're encouraging physical activity among residents of the community. In terms of the bicycle, this is huge. Can I ask how many people either live or work in Fall River? Oh, good number. Fall River is built on major hills, and so the idea of getting on bicycles, I can remember when the planning department was saying, no one will ever bicycle in Fall River. This was only 3 years ago. You're going the wrong direction if you think people are going to bicycle in Fall River. Will you raise the gas price to $4 a gallon? And you should see how many people are on bicycles now. And I think that that's going to be something that we need to continue to think about. How do we make our cities safe for people on bicycles? And so some of the ways are, we've been working actually with New Bedford, Mass in Motion, because the way this started was back in November 2010, we had an event. people on bicycles connecting Southcoast communities. And we had a group start from Fall River and a group start from New Bedford. And we involved all of the towns, Dartmouth and Westport and the two cities. And everyone from the selectmen to the police departments to the park departments were involved and supportive of this event. And Jen was one of our bicyclists and her mother. And it was, it was just a wonderful way to raise the attention and the need and the beauty. We went along Old Fall River to Old Bedford Road, and if you've done that ride, it is, by little ponds and by farms, and it was November, so there were pumpkins, and the leaves were still were falling. A very, very pretty ride. So it brought that attention, and it also brought the attention to UMass Dartmouth's Sustainability Office and to SERPED, the Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development District. It's quite a title. But SERPED came to the table also, along with Mass in Motion, Fall River, and New Bedford. And we began to talk about a summit, a bicycle summit, bringing all of these parties together. But to say, that was nice, where do we go from here? And where we have gone from there, 100 people came to that summit, is the South Coast Bikeway. I'll just start these, got plenty of them. And now our vision, you got to think big. So the vision is from Providence to Provincetown. A pathway that's already done in Rhode Island, by the way, and will then connect us from Swansea, Massachusetts, to Provincetown. A lot of the Cape has been done, and if you look at the brochure, there's several miles that have been done in the area that we are particularly concerned with, which is from Fall River to Wareham. And I invite all of you to get involved with this. We've had some wonderful presentations. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had an engineer come to Vogue Tech to speak on kind of how to create safe bike resources in communities when the economy is as bad as it is. So they're practical. We had Nicole Friedman come to Fall River. She's the bicycle czar. She's leaving Boston, but she's the bicycle czar that came to Boston and made it go from the absolute worst city in the United States to bicycle in to number 6, all since 2007. So, and her message is, it can be done. It can be done. It can be done in Boston. It can be done in Fall River and New Bedford. So this is just a map showing what we've done, what is done in Fall River, and particularly the Scholarship City Bicycle Route. And that, right now we have a less than a mile, just about a mile, along the South Watuppa Bike Path, right behind the ATMC and Meditech. Beautiful, beautiful view, short, nice for walking, not very long for biking. But anyway, it's the beginning. It goes along here, and the Scholarship City will come along up here, up in Eastern Avenue, take a little drive to the right and to the left, and it's going to, and this is, we have a grant out for the funding for this, but it's going to link the two colleges, the ATMC and Bristol Community College, 3 high schools, Bishop Conley, Durfee, and Diamond Regional, 3 elementary schools, up here on Meridian Street, down here on Eastern Avenue, and over here on President Avenue, and 1 middle school. And so when these stripings are completed, we would like to see a time when kids and staff could ride their bicycles to school every day. We're also working on, and here's where advocacy comes in. Going back to the park advocates. The idea there too is to get people thinking about the fact that things change when residents demand those changes. So they've got to come out, they've got to go to the city council meetings, they've got to go to the CDBG funding opportunities. And through that process, one neighborhood association a year ago wrote a grant to CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant, that's administered through cities, and got a grant to rebuild the playground in their park. I mean, that was kind of unheard of for a neighborhood association to do that. Through that kind of advocacy, the bicycle committee, which has been formed in this year period, when we went to a open hearing on the reconstruction of Plymouth Avenue, and learned that bicycle routes, bicycle lanes were not going to be placed in this reconstruction of one of the largest streets in Fall River that's going to be in place for 20, 25 years, and there were not going to be any bicycle lanes on that street. And so we wrote letters and we protested, and sure enough, Mass DOT, who have the policy to put in those bike lanes, by the way, came back and decided that they were, yeah, well, we'll do that then. And so now we're expecting that construction to be starting any time now with the bicycle lanes that will be connecting through the city. So there's progress being made. There are great people in Fall River who are involved in these projects. And that's so essential because the grant will end at some point, but hopefully the work will continue. This has been in the hopes and dreams of a number of people in Fall River for a very long time. Through Mass in Motion, I was able, or I was appointed to chair the rewriting of the open space and recreation plan, which had come to an end in 2009. And in order to get state money for any of these park grants, you have to have an effective open space and recreation plan. So that was kind of our deadline. We had a very short window of time to put together the open space plan. But we had wonderful people that participated, and they resurrected this idea of the Quicksand River Greenway. Now, those of you might not know that Fall River is named after the Quicksand River that ran through the city and then fell down in falls before it hit the Taunton River. And that river has been buried in pipes in order to put through Route 195. So the city lost a huge resource and a huge, beautiful, natural area in that. And so it needs to be reclaimed. And the idea here is to link the bicycle path that's already there and to come along here, right down to the center of the city and Ritland Park. And what has happened is that we've been meeting with the Gateway Cities Park Program, and we have received, Fall River has received the funding to do the design study, which is all the engineering, what it's going to take, and it's going to be a boardwalk. We wanted to use the train trestle, but that's all rotted out, so that needs to be demolished and put in a boardwalk, which is going to be a wonderful new resource for not only bicycles, but also for pedestrians walking. And now we just learned that the Department of Transportation has awarded it another grant of $1 million to begin the construction. So that is going to take a few years, but when it is completed, not only will there be the resources for walking and biking, but also people getting out in canoes. There's so many, it's a habitat for so many birds, particularly, and other small animals. Yesterday, actually, this is a project that I've been working on slowly for 3 years, but it was put into the open space plan. It is a project that a particular neighborhood association, Father Kelly Neighborhood Association, is extremely interested in. So they have the advocacy ability, and they also have the bodies to do a lot of cleanups down here at the pond. But this is a hidden gem in the city of Fall River. It is surrounded by mill buildings, some of them occupied, some of them not. A lot of National Grid, here, so Housing Authority, National Guard, and you can hardly see that it's there. And so working with the Conservation Commission, working with the various departments of the city, what we envision is a pathway that will go around the pond and will eventually, be a bicycle pathway and a pathway for baby carriages and even wheelchairs in a number of years. But if we could just get started with this more of a rustic pathway. TTOR has been interested in this project, trustees of reservations, bringing some resources to the table. We just met with the school, school's up here, getting their permission to be on their property to bring the pathway down. So this is a long-term project, but in this area of the city, the south end of Fall River, there are very few resources for recreation and for physical activity. So it's essential to, especially when you have a natural resource like this, to not stop ignoring it and bring it to light and bring it to become a resource for that particular. I came from doing I would call it public health, and now my vision of health is working with all these various departments. So I'm learning how roads are constructed. If you want to get bike lane stripes, you have to look at the fact that when the roads are reconstructed, that's when changes can be made in the width, in the engineering of them, or when the water department is changing, the sewer overflow, or reconstructing the old pipings under the city. That's when changes are going to be made, or just knowing what the laws are, like in the case of Plymouth Avenue. If I didn't know that was part of DOT's policy, I wouldn't have been there saying, hey, what about the bike pathway? And so it's this wonderful combination of learning these very new to me things, working with people who bring all this knowledge to the table, and then, with my background, going to the public and involving them in, because I think it has to be two ways. It can't be just, the mayor could change, and then the whole thing changes. But if the public is brought up to expect and demand some of these changes, then we'll see them. So thank you very much. Oh, and those of you who are in Fall River, the Bicycle Committee meets on the first Monday of the month. And it's a great committee in that it's working on these changes within the city, but it also organizes very regular bike rides. And we're trying to get people, and those are both in the city and out of the city. But when we do it in the city, we know that we're getting people to look and say, hey, I know that guy, and he's on a bicycle. It's just making people realize, yes, you can bicycle safely in Fall River, and it's fun, and it's an alternative form of transportation. And so please, if you are among the Fall Riverites in the room, please think about joining that committee. Thank you.
Here's your list. I won't go down the list, but that's what I wanted to talk about. Some of the bigger elements. And you don't have to agree. So when you tell me, when you report out in about half an hour, you can say, you don't have to use names. You say, well, there's two people at our table that were completely against that, and what they said was this. Some other names. So have a spokesperson at your table.